Hi, fiends. I am here with new story. Let's enjoy the story.
Once upon a time, in a distant land, there lived a young woman named Snow White. She was known far and wide for her unparalleled beauty, which was often compared to the purest snow, her ebony hair as dark as the night, and her lips as red as the most vibrant roses in the royal garden. Yet, despite her captivating beauty, Snow White possessed a heart as pure and kind as the crystal-clear waters of a mountain stream. Her warm and caring nature had endeared her to all who knew her, from the birds that sang outside her window to the woodland creatures that roamed the enchanting forest surrounding her home. But within the grand castle that stood atop the rolling hills of the kingdom, there resided a woman whose heart was as cold and cruel as Snow White's was warm and gentle. The queen, Snow White's stepmother, was consumed by jealousy and envy. She could not bear the thought of anyone in the realm surpassing her in beauty, and Snow White's beauty was indeed a threat to her fragile ego. Day by day, the queen's heart grew darker as she gazed upon her stepdaughter's beauty. Her desire to be the fairest in the land drove her to the darkest depths of her soul. She summoned her loyal huntsman, a man hardened by years of service to the ruthless queen, and gave him a sinister command. "Take Snow White deep into the forest," the queen hissed, her eyes filled with malice. "And there, in the depths of the wilderness, where no one can hear her cries, you must end her life." The huntsman, burdened by the queen's command, led Snow White into the heart of the ancient forest. His heart, too, was not as black as the queen's, and he could not bear to harm the innocent girl. He explained the queen's wicked plan and urged Snow White to flee and never return. Snow White, guided by her pure heart and a deep love for life, found herself wandering deeper into the forest. Alone and vulnerable, she discovered a cozy cottage hidden amidst the towering trees. The cottage was small, charming, and inhabited by 7 dwarfs. These dwarfs were named Grumpy, Doc, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. They were miners who toiled each day in the nearby mountains, digging for precious gems. Their hearts were as kind and generous as Snow White's, and they welcomed her with open arms. Snow White cooked and cleaned for her newfound friends, while they provided her with shelter and protection. Each day, they would sing and dance together, their laughter echoing through the forest. Snow White's beauty and kindness soon endeared her to the dwarfs, and she became like a daughter to them. Unbeknownst to Snow White and the dwarfs, the queen discovered that her plan had been foiled. She believed that Snow White was no more, and her ego was momentarily satisfied. However, her enchanted mirror spoke the truth, revealing that Snow White was still alive and fairer than she. The queen's jealousy knew no bounds, and she devised another wicked plan. She used her dark magic to transform herself into an old hag, her beauty now concealed by wrinkles and sorcery. In her wrinkled disguise, she set out to ensure Snow White's end personally. One day, when the dwarfs were away in the mines, the queen arrived at the cottage. She tempted Snow White with a shiny red apple that was laced with a poison so potent that it would render the young woman into an eternal sleep. Snow White, her innate kindness preventing her from suspecting the old hag's true intentions, took a fateful bite. As the poison coursed through her veins, Snow White fell into a deep slumber, her beauty preserved like a fragile porcelain doll. The queen, believing she had finally triumphed over her beautiful stepdaughter, returned to the castle with a sinister grin. When the dwarfs returned home and found Snow White lying motionless, they were heartbroken. They could not bear to bury her, for she appeared so radiant even in her deep slumber. They fashioned a glass coffin for her and placed her inside, where she would remain in peaceful repose. Word of Snow White's misfortune spread throughout the kingdom, and the people mourned the loss of their beloved beauty. Her story reached the ears of a young prince who had heard of her legendary beauty and kindness. Filled with an irresistible desire to see her, he embarked on a journey to the forest. Upon arriving at the dwarf's cottage, the prince was struck by Snow White's ethereal beauty, even in her slumber. Unable to resist, he leaned down and kissed her lips. The power of true love's kiss shattered the queen's curse, and Snow White awoke, her eyes meeting the gaze of the handsome prince. In that moment, a deep and lasting love blossomed between Snow White and the prince. He knew he had found his true love, and she had found her prince charming. They decided to marry in a grand ceremony that would unite their hearts forever. As for the wicked queen, her evil deeds had caught up with her. When she learned that Snow White had been awakened, her rage knew no bounds. But her dark soul would not escape retribution. In a twist of fate, her own greed and cruelty led to her downfall. Her evil was exposed to the kingdom, and she was banished forever, serving as a stern reminder that true beauty lies in kindness and goodness, not just in appearances. Snow White, now a princess, and her handsome prince ruled the kingdom with wisdom and benevolence, ensuring that their people lived happily and harmoniously. The 7 dwarfs remained their dearest friends, and together they continued to find joy and love in their enchanted forest home. And so, the tale of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs became a cherished legend, a testament to the enduring power of kindness, love, and the beauty that resides not only in one's appearance, but in the depths of their heart. In their forest haven, Snow White and her friends lived happily ever after, a testament to the enduring power of goodness in a world where beauty had been both a curse and a blessing.